Hello again and welcome to LOVEan with Juana. Grabe. Can I just say I'm so excited? Kasi ang makakausap natin today is someone who I had the chance already to talk to, be with in one of the online documentary series of presentations. And wow, when I was listening to her, sabi ko, wow, dapat ganito ang mga kababaihan. Just her and me. And tune in, no? Because we will be learning a lot from her, I'm sure. How would you want people to get to know you?
Okay. Hello everybody. My name is Kakie. You can call me anything you like. My full name is actually Simone Francesca Emmanuel Pangilinan.
You're on the news and you have more than 240,000 followers. And that's huge. And for someone like you, who is obviously coming from a family of privilege, what does this mean to you?
Wow. Naging existentialist agad, I'm not gonna lie.
Existentialist na agad, ano?
Nagulat na lang po kasi ako one day, nagising ako in the middle of quarantine. And then suddenly it was like people were listening to me. I think first and foremost, it's incredibly humbling more than anything. Especially on Twitter, like having like a platform on Twitter like that, because Twitter is the place for so much discourse.
You being an advocate, like you're fighting for women, you weigh in on a lot of other issues. Is this something that you feel that grew on you slowly because of your parents, or were you always like this as a child?
Sa bahay po na to, lahat po ng mga character matapang. Okay, so like parang in order to even just to speak, I think at the dinner table in itself, one must have conviction and one must have, diba, like the tenacity and sort of the wit to be able to contribute something worthwhile at the dinner table. I think that it was always encouraged for us to be individuals more than anything.
Mhm.
To be more like whatever you're passionate about, what keeps you up at night, that's really their thing. And then it just all sort of followed that, because once I think you build up the individualism in a person, you kind of empower them and like allow them to value their opinions, value their beliefs, no, and like value their own like education and things like that. And I think that all followed very, very naturally. And
Mhm. Is it something you kind of consciously think about when you're, for example, fighting with someone on Twitter?
I think we're losing so much of like the humane aspect of it that it sort of breaks my heart sometimes. But I've always tried to be very, very aware of that. I hope, like if you go through my tweets, I don't think that you'll spot something that I wouldn't say in real life. It's making sure that your online discourse aligns with who you are outside of that digital landscape. Just making sure that you would you seriously discuss this way with strangers that you don't even know.
How do you, from anger, then express yourself to make a difference?
You don't get angry about things you don't care about.
Exactly.
And I believe that the whole point of getting angry is because you realize and you recognize that there's something better out there. Like we deserve better, diba? So like I think that in itself it might come across as nega, but in like it's actually just hope.
Mhm.
But the truth is that the spirit of fighting there just implies that we know that we can achieve better if we fight for it, and if we do our due diligence and our responsibility as citizens, and actually hold people accountable, hold our leaders accountable, diba? Kung nakakagalit, edi nakakagalit. Like you can't naman tell everybody to just calm down, etc. But that in itself is a sign, because I think that Filipinos are, especially now, I hope, especially now, are beginning to realize that we all deserve a better system in general, across the board. And realizing that better is achievable is exactly what spurs on our anger. It's exactly what pushes us forward.
Because before I was angry and acted from anger, but now I am angry and I act from my heart. You have been bashed, you have been name called, but what does that do to you, to your mental health, and how do you cope?
I recognize that regardless of who's saying what, they are still real people, right? It doesn't mean that necessarily the opinions or like the nasty comments are like justified, but it just means that if you once you recognize that these are still, a number of them are still real people, regardless of whether we believe they're paid or not, you know, that in itself can allow you to have perspective of like what these individuals might be going through. I can empathize to a certain extent, but
Are you now even more and more conscious that it looks like these things are closest to your heart and this is why you speak out about them, or nagkataon lang?
there's a series now of things I believe that I try to narrow down my attention to, and one of them is my work with Save San Roque, my work with Save Lumad Schools, and and iha ako basically, and women empowerment, diba?
Yeah.
And that's why like I love, like nowadays I've been working more closely also with Bug Harry and Gabriella, and I really appreciate just hearing from a bunch of people, and like because there's so many activists and so many, you know, youth activists who've been doing this so much longer than I have. I attend a lot of educational discussions and things like that, and just because I want to learn more about what's happening. Whenever there's like a donation drive, whenever there's like I know they know that they can just send it to me and then I can retweet it, I can amplify that stuff. That's what social media was built for, you know, for us to interact and learn from each other. And so those moments are really what make me happiest, I think.
You know, if you were a brand, I mean, how do you think you want to affect the world using your brand?
I think that coming into 2021, it's like I'm trying to be a little more vulnerable, because it's this weird thing of a bunch of people know who I am and I don't even think they know who I am. I try to keep it really similar to how it used to be when I had like 300 followers and like nobody was really listening, but I just kept talking at no one, diba? And I'm still learning how to make sure that I get my validation from me and only me. And I think that the only way to ensure that that happens is that I maintain integrity as a person. I feel as if I owe it now to people to be able to help in times of need. I remember during the last typhoon, the whole day I was nakatutok on my phone, just retweeting stuff and like trying to get people saved and rescued and trying to get, and you know, it was really tiring, but like that's all I could do because I was at home.
I really resonate when you said you have to have integrity, that who you project on Twitter is actually the same kind of person. People like you who will not just say something for the world to hear, but you will also do something. You can't change the world, but you can change you. And I'm the same, you know, I am an artist, I'm an activist. And while I want to change a lot of things in the world, I start with me. Just give us a snippet of what you want to say to the world. I mean, it can be a word, it can be a verse from your song.
You know, I just pray a lot nowadays. It's sort of like, am I where you want me? Like, is this where you want me? Am I where you want me? Like, I'm really, really scared, right? And then I think I just realized it in a certain way. I would rather live my life and devote my life to being a consequential individual as opposed to somebody who's thrown around by consequence, you know, because I think we've each got choices. Are you going to be a passive character or are you going to be an active character in your community and in like the world around you, diba? You can either let things happen to you or you can make things happen.
Wow. Thank you so much, Kaki. I mean, you know, grabe. For you to say that you love people and you keep writing, you keep talking to yourself, because the beautiful thing about you is you are asking the right question.
The prayer of mine, it's please show me what's important. I don't think that anybody is afraid of not knowing enough. I think anybody is afraid precisely because they don't know enough, right? Like during the Black Lives Matter movement, for example, we saw so many people posting more about Black Lives Matter than they were about the terror bill. And then it sort of, you know, I realized it's precisely because so much of the media that we're fed is Western, right? So much of the media that we're fed is American. And I guess my number one encouragement for people my age now is just like, don't run away from it just because it's a little harder to like look into, right? Because these things are going to affect you whether you like it or not. Whether you like it or not, politics in the Philippines, local politics is going to affect you more than those politics over there ever will. It's up to us na lang to sort of take charge of our own, of like the information that we're being fed, because a couple Googles of that, I'm sure it will end up showing up na din on your feeds, no? Kasi ganun yung algorithm eh. What you consume is what then you'll be fed more of, diba? And that's such a weird digital thing. But honestly, yeah, if you just look for it more, then it will find you. Follow activists on Twitter. I love Twitter precisely because it's helped me to engage more with local issues as opposed to international issues like before, diba? Don't wait for somebody to like explain stuff to you. Read the newspaper, watch the news if you want to watch the news. That in itself is an education that's just waiting to be accessed. And I think that it's such a pity, it's such a shame that it's not being accessed just because it takes a little more effort than scrolling aimlessly on a feed. No.
Yes. So thank you. You keep inspiring. I mean, may your following grow to millions and keep amplifying your voice. So really, thank you for sharing your day with us. I hope this will not be the last. I would
I
want
hope
to
not.
hear from you. So maraming salamat. Keep loving.
You too,
Thanks.
Miss. Thank you.